Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. This is a conservative-leaning podcast, but I do address the issues facing the Republicans, facing the Democrats, facing the Constitution, facing the Supreme Court. I mainly stick on topics that are of a federal interest because that affects us all. I do look at some state issues and some state races that are important to look at, mostly for the House of Representatives and the Senate. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I'm not MAGA. I'm a Federalist. Democrats can be Federalists too. So it puts it into light that we believe in the Constitution. And when I say I believe in the Constitution, you have the rules. These are the laws. These are what we have to abide by. But in the Constitution and in our republic, there are tools to examine the rules. There's procedures. There's a mechanism in place that allows the Supreme Court, who does not make laws, just putting that out there, folks, the Supreme Court does not make laws. They interpret the Constitution on a federal level to see, is it a federal issue or is it a state issue? Is the law that is there or the act of a court follow the guidelines and rules of the Constitution? And if not, those things can be challenged. In rare occasions, the interpretation of the amendment can be interpreted by the Supreme Court. Not so much the first 10 commandments, first 10 amendments. That's kind of rock solid. But everything after that can be looked at. There are some things that you just, you have people that want to fight, I'm a sovereign citizen. No, you're not. No. So the Supremacy Clause takes care of your idea of anything like that. The idea that, things can't be challenged. Things can be challenged. They're challenged all the time. It just doesn't mean that you're going to win that challenge in a court, and then win that challenge all the way up to the Supreme Court. So basically, that's what this show is about. And I do look at things. I do look at the political temperature. So, and today's a Sunday. It is a rare day that I do a Sunday show. But last week I didn't do a lot of shows. So I'm just reiterating some things that need to be looked at. Today I'm going to be speaking mainly about the ineffectiveness and inefficiency of the Democratic Party. Now, I call them the Democratic Party. I can't call them Democrats. I have to call them progressives. They're not Democrats anymore. They hold no value of what I would call a Democrat. and what I would classify a Democrat as. Because I can tell you what a Democrat was. I can also tell you what a woman is. You'll find many of the progressives that can't answer what a woman is. And if they can't answer what a woman is, I'm not even going to bother to ask them what a Democrat is to them. All right? So, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about, in the end, again, what's going on in Iran. Some points that I pointed out yesterday. I want to thank all the new subscribers. A lot of subscribers don't show up on the subscription list because they don't want to be listed, and I respect that. That's fine. Anyone who watches the show leaves a comment, a good comment, a bad comment, that's fine. I have no problems with that. I think that's good when you can have a dialogue. And even though some of the comments are, they're not comments, they're, attacks. And, I get a kick out of the comments sometimes because these are the same people that are screaming for the DIE. That's what I call it, die, but it's DEI. And, they're out there telling you, you don't have a right to say that, I'd hurt you, or, it's funny stuff. It's funny stuff. But I answer them, and I tell them why I say what I say, and we go from there. Some people I've had excellent conversations back and forth. And that's wonderful. That's what it's about. All right. So let's talk about Tim Walz in Spain. And Tim Walz in Spain is absolutely 100% supporting the Iranian terrorist regime in Iran. There was no reason for us to attack Iran. They did not pose an immediate threat to us. The president is just trigger happy. The president is a warmonger. This coming from a governor whose state is so stuck in fraud that a governor and his attorney general are coming under the lights of investigations for their activity in active fraud. And he's getting up and going and speaking on the world platform, political platform, of how the United States and the president is wrong for attacking Iran. This goes to show me as a Republican, me as a voter, me as an American, that the Democrats are so drunk with their own Kool-Aid. They're believing now what they were trying to sell. And I think any adult American can understand why Iran and the regime had to go. There's Democrats that are out there saying, yeah, Iran, the regime had to go. Hate that the people are suffering, hate that that is going on, hate that we're over there, hate that we're spending the money, hate that we have to do this. But that regime has to go. And I've said this now on multiple shows, and I'm just kind of echoing myself, but a defanged Iran can only help the next administration, be it blue, be it red. It can only help it. And instead of the Democrats quietly and cautiously supporting the president, supporting our troops, listening to the world around them, who have said that Iran has been a thorn and now is dangerous. More dangerous than North Korea. A nuclear Iran, in any sense of the word, is a danger. And the idea that you have Democrats like Walz, like Harris, who are saying, I wouldn't have done that. This is, what I would have done. And we know what they have done. We know what the Democrats have done with Iran. They appeased them. And to the point where even when Obama said, hey, we worked out an agreement, the Iranians had already had centrifuges to make and create plutonium and separate it. They already had it. It wasn't like we want to do this and this is what we're trying to do. They already had it. They already had these secret bases. Not so much of a secret because we knew where they were and Israel knew where they were. And we knew they had it. Why would we be dealing with them in that level if they didn't have it? So the idea of where these people are speaking from, it's a false narrative. Obama knew. Clinton knew. Bush knew. Bush the second knew. Biden knew. Trump knew. They knew that Iran was seeking and building towards nuclear material. Now, you could think you could build a bomb without a nuclear material, but that's as far as you can get, and you could stop countries like North Korea and Russia and China, and they wouldn't give them nuclear material in the sense where they could take it and make a bomb. They'd give them nuclear reactors and not what's called breeder reactors, and they might show them how to do it, but they wouldn't give it to them. Iran was able to, for 47 years of appeasement by the West, was able to. Now, with the help of Pakistan, which no one wants to talk about, they were able to create the material necessary to make a bomb. Once you have the material, making the bomb is easy. It was making the enrichment. Making the bomb, they had that all figured out in the 40s. In the 30s, they knew how to build it. It was getting the material. So now, not so hard to make an atomic weapon. Getting the material, it's another story. So when you have that, Tim Walsh is saying, "Oh, Iran was no threat, didn't pose a threat, wasn't necessary." This is a guy that allowed $19 billion that we know of fraud, and he's going to tell the world that Iran didn't pose. I don't see them posing a problem. Now, Democrats that might be listening, do you really feel that Iran was not a problem? That the country that said we would exterminate Zionists, and then you ask them, well, who's a Zionist? And they go, Jews. And you look back, and who said they would do the same thing? Well, the Nazis. But Trump's a Nazi. Not Iran, but Trump is a Nazi. That logic, that rhetoric is what took down your party in 2024. So what do the Democrats do? They go further left in their rhetoric. And fellas, you already have your core group. You got them. You're not going to pick up any more. What you're going to do and have been doing is driving the Reagan Democrats. You're going to have the Democrats that voted for a Republican now go and look at the people sitting and trying to make the laws that undermine everything. And you've whipped up the GOP. What do you think is going to happen during these midterms? Honestly, what do you think is going to happen? You'll have blue states, and that's just the way it's been. But you're going to have a red House and a red Senate going into 2028. And there's a good possibility that the independents in the Senate are going to align up with the Republicans. Because there's going to be a lot of guilt by association. And you don't think so? You better start taking a pulse of the people out there and take a temperature of them. You have, Raskin out there, representative from Delaware, who is running around trying to get the 25th Amendment bill changed and language added into that stands absolutely no chance. None whatsoever. Yet he's running around. He's doing that. He's wasting the other Democrats' time with this bill. Instead of figuring out a budget, instead of figuring out an immigration policy that both sides can live with, that makes sense. But in the meantime, we follow the immigration laws that are on those books right now. And they don't want that. This is the problem of the Democrats. They say the immigration policy of America is no good. It needs to be changed. All right. And when you do push it through, and it's ridiculous where we can allow, 20 million undocumented people in a year, and that we just basically have open borders, you sign up on a list, hang it up, and you just walk across. How's that have worked for America in the last 30 years? We're seeing crime committed by people that shouldn't be here. And there are, of course, people that came here to escape, to make a better life. I get that. I get that. But you had a lot of people that came in here that we have no idea who they are. And then when they're caught doing a criminal act, and they're looking, where, and I didn't come in through immigration. I just came across the border. And you go, oh no, that person has to be, oh no. We're going to treat him like a citizen, which it does say in a criminal sense that they are subject to our laws. All of them. Now, under civil, they're not. So the criminal portion of a lot of these crimes, that the states go, well, release them. You don't think so? How many of these people have been arrested that end up pushing someone in front of a train, stabbing a person to death, breaking into their homes, running them over? And you go, well, that you're talking, a very small amount. I want you to go and tell the families of those people that they killed. And you could say, well, there's drunk drivers that are citizens, and they're drunk drivers, and there are murderers who are citizens. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct with that. But you know what? The murders that were committed by people that should never have been here, that is called preventable. And this is where Democrats, and I don't even say Democrats, because any sane Democrat would go, yeah, no, that's true. You're making a legitimate statement. But you get the ones that go, yeah, but what about the guy that just working down at the car wash? And they're rounding him up because he's brown. No, they're rounding him up because he shouldn't be here. He's here illegally. And yes, he might not have done anything wrong. And yes, he buys something at the store, he's paying sales tax on it. If his employer is paying him and he's following FICA and everything else, which I don't know how they can because they're not citizens, they don't have papers. I mean, those businesses should be shut down. And they're doing the jobs you don't want to do. No. No. You're actually using those people as indentured servants because they're being taken advantage of. Well, they wouldn't be taken advantage of if you made them citizens. Now, let's look what it takes to become a citizen. Oh, look, they violated the first thing. Oh, they violated the second thing. Oh, they violated... Do you progressives understand that? Do you Democrats that still call yourself a Democrat, do you recognize that? Do you recognize it? And you could turn around, well, that's just one issue we have with Trump. Okay, all right. Did you have that with Obama? Because Obama deported the most amount of people ever. Did you have that problem? No. No. Nope. And the Republicans were screaming about illegals way back when. The Republicans were screaming about Iran way back when. In a meeting with Obama, one of his top advisors just came out and asked him, he goes, do you want to see Iran with a nuclear bomb? And Obama called this guy out and said, you're never coming to another meeting here again because you put me in a position where I had to answer yes or no. So Democrats, if you're calling yourselves Democrats, you know the truth. You know the truth about immigration. You know the truth about crime. You know the truth about fraud. You know the truth about what is going on today and where the real problems lie. You haven't heard anything again about budget and health care or anything like that. But you got Raskin running around tying up time with an amendment that will never, ever, ever, or a legislation that will never, ever, ever happen. It's a distraction. See this? No one's watching what my left hand is doing. It's a distraction. Are Republican politicians saints? Are they sleazy? Are politicians sleazy? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You must watch them. What happens when we didn't watch them and all this money was flying out the door? And they go, yeah, you have that idiot Waltz who goes in front of television cameras and go, they took the good heartedness of my state and used it against us. Yeah, but you had state employees going, hey, something's wrong here. We don't have that many people here to give out these meals to, let alone in just one area. There's got to be something wrong here. Nothing. Nothing. Democrats, you have to realize that you are in big trouble. And you have a branding problem. And unless you get out of that branding problem, you're going to have moderates slowly just migrate away from you. And of course, your idea was we're prepared for that because this is why we got all these people in these areas that were once red. Now we're going to blue it. We're going to have these people vote. And when you talk about where, oh, no, they didn't vote. And then you find out, yeah, there was a lot of people that should not have been voting. And you could say, hey, listen, it's less than 2%, less than 1%, or it's fraction. We were told that couldn't happen. Never happened. It's a lie. And then you're finding out. The big problem is that because voting is so sacrosanct that you can't look at some of this stuff. You have to believe that they're doing the right thing, that they have enough eyes watching, that there's enough people watching. But when you turn all one color, when your election committees are made up of all one color, you don't think that there could be a problem with that? Or at least looking at it going, yeah, it's a problem. Or could be. Or the appearance of. And you can't get those documents to look at it and go, let's just say, we have an independent look at it. We have someone, and they go, nope, you can't look at it. The voting is done secretly. And there's no way. There's ways to say, I voted and I only voted once, assuming I use my ID every time. But you saw what was happening. They were busing people in. Why do you think, why in God's name, do you think they took people that lived in a jungle and stuck them in a state that is, only above 60 degrees 4.5 months out of the year? Because they were creating votes. It happened in Maine. It happened in California. It's happening in New York and in New Jersey. It's out of control there. No one wants to admit that. Pennsylvania, people are moving out of Pennsylvania. They go, it's unlivable. Unlivable. And where they're all flocking to? Red states. The only thing that I ask you to do when you come to these red states from a blue state is keep your politics over there. Think about why you're fleeing. And don't bring those ideas over here. We got enough trouble. You have Stephen Smith, who is an influencer. He was ESPN sportscaster. Nice guy, smart guy. Nothing wrong with Stephen Smith. You don't have to agree with everything a Democrat does or everything a Republican does. You don't have to agree with that just because you might be a Democrat or you might be a Republican. You could look at it, does it make common sense? That I will agree with. Common sense can rule the day. And Stephen Smith said that if the DNC does not pick Harris for its nomination in 2028, it will be seen as the DNC stepping over a black woman. Now, there might be plenty of black women that might be running come 2028, or women of color. Right? It doesn't have to be Harris. I mean, how could they possibly pick Harris? Honestly, she brought nothing, and she had said, I would do exactly what Biden has done. I'd follow his path. And you've had presidents that have done those type of things. And I'm not saying that that is a horrible thing. But it is a horrible thing is if people are really complaining about what that president's doing, and that's the basis of the opponent running, and you're saying, I'm going to do the same thing that he's doing. Yeah, you might want to think that. Now, she did not have a lot of time to have a backup plan. She was just riding the coattails and being guaranteed the presidency when Biden would get sick and leave, 8 months after being in office. And she'd be there. And then she couldn't do her plan. But they didn't have anything in case Biden croaked a day, before all that. If he, something happened to him in the December of 2023, where let's have a plan that you would like to see that kind of conforms to what Biden had, but maybe some other little changes, so that if these papers never see the light of day, but come a day that we could take these out and go, we've been tweaking these up. So yes, it's terrible. Oh, the sad news, Biden, whatever. And now I'm president, Kamala Harris, president. And they go, well, what, and she goes, well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mourn this president. And then, of course, now I have my people that I would like to see stay in the cabinet, and some other people that I'd like to, I personally would like to choose. And, let's bury the president. Let's show the world that there's a transition, and it's a non-confrontational transition. It's an orderly transition. What was here yesterday is going to be here tomorrow. Got to give us some space here. And I think the press would go, yeah, and you'd have, okay, other ones. Oh, we need to know now, But the reality of even that, people would go, well, she's right, And a couple of weeks later, they go, these are what I would like to start doing. This is what I would like to maybe retweak over here, and, And people would look at that and go, well, that's reasonable. It's okay. I don't like her. I don't like the politics. But what she's saying is reasonable for the situation. There is no reason. The Democrats, progressive, they're offering no solutions that are reasonable. And this is what's going to cost you. Yes, everyone should have a steak dinner. Chicken in every pot. Remember that? And that worked. Yes, they should all have this. They should have, and 2 cars in each garage. Yeah. Well, isn't that what Trump was saying? Bring manufacturing here. Get people working, get them off the dole. And yet, the Democrats scream, yell, and holler where that was always their plan. So that's not your plan anymore. What's your new plan? Men should have babies. Women can do any job a man can do. You can't define a woman. You can't define a man. Do you see what the problem is? And, that's good when you're 16 years old and you're 21 years old. But when you start getting older and you go, hey, I got to work. I got to have a job. But a lot of these kids don't work anymore. Those entry jobs are now being taken by illegals who want to be paid $40 an hour to flip a burger. Where I'm getting out of law school with a $250,000 student loan, and I'll be lucky if I'm making $85,000 a year working my tail off for a profession for the next 8 or 9 years. But I should be, the guy flipping burgers over here illegally should have an income, but that was never meant to be, I'm going to raise a family of 4 with that. It just wasn't meant to be that type of job, or to have the sustainability of a lifetime employment, unless you were getting other sources of income. So the Democrats want to anchor those people in those jobs that, quote unquote, America didn't want to do. No, America's wanted to do it. We just can't do it now. And we're told, no. You don't want to do that. You want to learn how the South American rain dances influences the stock market on any given day. And that's what these kids are going for in these, the worst one was, I'm a psychology major. What do you mean you're a psychology major? Well, that's interesting you brought it up like that. You're never going to get a job. I'm going to do this in criminal justice. I'm going to be like a CSI. You ever see what a crime lab really looks like? Look like my basement. If I was an attorney, if I was a defense attorney, the first thing I'd do, I'd go, I want an inspection of that lab. I want to see how you did this, how you got this, and pointed this towards my client. Because it's all hooey. And people and schools are selling that. Just like I told attorneys before. Oh, you're going to file a motion. You can do this. We can file a motion. All right. How many of those motions have been successful? And the ones that were successful, why were those successful and not the other ones? And where does my motion, what category does that fall under? Unless you're just doing that to stall. If you're doing it to stall, to see, we're shaking the tree, we just don't know, we nothing's fallen out of it yet, but we hear something, so Democrats, you have a real branding problem. All right, this has been 45 minutes, and I did say Stephen Smith, made the comment about Harris and how the DNC is kind of forced to go that route. The Republicans, it's an open field. Pretty certain on how it's going to go, but it will be interesting. But swinging back to Iran, in Iran, that is no longer a threat like they are a threat today, can only help the Democratic Party. Why wouldn't they jump on the bandwagon? And the Democrats could go, hey, the president, you can go here, and we'll work with you to go there, and, this won't be a straight line, but we both want to get down to the goal. And neither one of us want to see it fail at this point. It has to succeed. But you have the Democrats that are actively working against the United States right now. This idiot, Walz. The possible criminal Walz. How? Did Michael Anavetti didn't teach you anything? Remember him? Stormy Daniels' lawyer? He'd be great as the president. He should run for office. He should do this. He should do that. Yeah, where is he? Where is he? Because you didn't do your research. You just went, oh, look at it. Oh, this is great. Great. You send Walz over there to pick apart the president. And in 2 years, this guy could be wearing a prison outfit. And that's who you want representing you. Not a John Fetterman. Not a Shapiro. That's who you want representing you. And again, him being in Spain, care less. Spaniards don't vote in our election. But it goes to show the depth of the Democratic Party that has no idea of what to do next. That it's all or nothing. All or nothing with the Democrats right now. And I'm going to tell you, you better like the idea of nothing, because that's what's coming down the road for you. Nothing. Raskin's 25th Amendment bill, another waste of time. instead of figuring out budgets, instead of doing your job, he's running around like a little child. Wasting time. Spinning his wheels. You got people that are such a waste of time. And you know who's really keeping their head low? AOC. You know who's keeping their heads low? Have you seen Bernie Sanders? Have you seen Bernie Sanders lately out there screaming and yelling? Nope. They know. They're not sticking their head up above the foxholes to see who's shooting. These other ones, idiots. Idiots. Who just fall into the trap. The one thing I did not touch on, and I'll finish this up in like 10 minutes, is Sotomayor from the Sotomayor, however what you want to address justice, that justice, had come out and really made racist remarks against another judge, saying that because he's white and his parents were professionals, he could not possibly understand the plight. They're not there to understand the plight. This is where a lot of people miss the point. It is the law. You're not there to emotionally change something, a law. You are there to address what the word means. And that had nothing to do with whether or not he came from a rich home or a poor home, or what color his parents were. And that she should be made to resign. That's a resignation time for her. Because if she can't make that distinction, I don't know if she could follow the playbook here. And she was a poor choice. Absolutely poor choice. I just can't believe that there were not people out there, and even the president, who said, I'd like for her to resign. Because if you cannot stay on track, if you cannot keep your cool, if you cannot stop your emotions, how do I know you're going to follow the book? And that doesn't mean you click your heels and you all mark, but you do click your heels to this. That's why I said a Democrat can be a Federalist. It's not clicking your heels. Following the book. All right. Everyone, please be safe out there. If you can give to a charity, please give to a charity of your choice. Check that charity out. Don't become a victim helping a victim. Now, if you're not interested in that, for whatever your reasons are, and that's your reasons, think about giving to a food bank. They can use food, of course. They could also use monetary donations because they can address situations that is appearing right at that moment for them. And I understand that you might say, well, those people got themselves into whatever situation, and I get it. But hungry is hungry. And if a child is hungry, and because the parents aren't doing their job or using their EBT money and gaming the system and buying drugs, those kids still need to eat. And yes, should the state come in? Yeah. I get all that. But in the meantime, that kid needs to eat. And you just have parents that are just down in their luck, made poor decisions. A factory closes. And they need some help. They need help. They don't qualify. They fall just shy on the limit, whatever. Do it with no, stipulations on it. You do it, you give it, you walk away, and you feel good about yourself. Hey, I know I was a rotten guy over there. I did something. I yelled at that person. Whatever. All right. Hopefully, I'm buying my way to heaven. Whatever it takes for you to get there, you'll be judged. Say a prayer. Prayer works, regardless of what a Democrat might tell you. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you. And we're going to say good night. Everyone be safe. And I'll get this right out the door. This is going out immediately, and with a little short that's going out. All right, everyone. Thank you as I fade to black.